Welcome to Promises to Keep. This recording is on pages 58 through 63, the conclusion of the book. Please make sure you have your book open and in front of you, and that you are on page 58. Make sure you're reading along and not just listening. So make sure you're looking at the words and looking at the pictures as I'm reading about them and reading the information to you. Okay, here we go. Page 58. Jackie Robinson's Legacy. We buried my father on October 29, 1972. In his eulogy, the Reverend Jesse L. Jackson reminded us that no grave could hold this man down. More than 2,500 mourners watched as 6 former athletes, Boston Celtics star Bill Russell and Dodger teammates Don Newcomb, Joe Black, Junior Gillum, Pee Wee Reese, and Ralph Branca, carried my father's silver blue coffin draped in red roses out of New York City's Riverside Church. After the service, people lined the streets to pay their final respects as Dad's casket passed through Harlem on its way to the Cypress Hills Cemetery in Brooklyn. It was one of the saddest days of my life. It took years for the pain and sense of loss to dull, but Dad would have expected us to stay in the game of life and to meet each challenge with strength and compassion. That's been my promise to him. In 2002, my son Jesse helped pay tribute to my dad as part of Major League Baseball's Memorable Moments campaign. At the 73rd All-Star Game in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, my son reenacted my father's first moments as a Major League player. Jesse, wearing a replica of my dad's famous number 42 Dodgers uniform, stepped across first base, paused, hands resting on bent knees, eyes serious. At 24, he was 5 years younger than his grandfather had been when he broke baseball's color barrier. As the announcer played out the dramatization, he introduced my son to 43,000 cheering fans. Mom and I sat proudly watching from the baseball commissioner's box as Jesse, who is 2 generations removed from the moment, accepted this profound yet brief connection to his grandfather. We'd raised my son with stories and pictures of my dad's achievement, but at the same time stressed the importance of defining life on your own terms. As we observed the confidence Jesse displayed that evening, we knew how far he'd come toward creating an identity separate and distinct from his grandfather. And that's the challenge. It's taken me many years to understand and celebrate the fullness of my legacy. In achieving understanding, however, I've been both inspired and given a sense of direction that's enhanced who I am. At the same time, I've had the freedom to create a life of my own. Let's take a look at the photographs. On page 58, you can see a man here, and the caption says, "A sign of mourning for my father." And the sign says, "This little 8x10 shop will be closed Friday 27th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in memory of Jackie Robinson." Looks like in memory of before you can say Jackie Robinson. And then on page 59, we have Jesse Robinson Sims at the All-Star Game. And then at the bottom, someone that you probably recognize. New York Yankee Derek Jeter left is one of the many players who have joined me right in breaking barriers. Through our work, we help children face obstacles in their lives. Let's turn the page. At the top, it says, each year, children across the United States select Jackie Robinson for their National History Day projects, and through their exploration of the man, They too adopt a piece of him into their lives. In Major League Baseball parks around the country, my father's number 42 is retired and proudly displayed along the outfield walls as a lifelong symbol of his legacy. Across the country, there are organizations, programs, schools, parks, community centers, and other facilities that bear my father's name. But perhaps our most significant family legacy is the Jackie Robinson Foundation. It was founded by Mom and several close friends in 1973, the year after Dad died. Through the Jackie Robinson Foundation, we strengthen young people by providing education and leadership development opportunities with the expectation that the path selected by each student will include giving back to their communities. More than 30 years after his death, Jackie Robinson Foundation scholars remain a living tribute to my father. Today, 1,000 graduates of the program are in the world making significant contributions in the field of their choice. Each graduate is unique and special. Each understands that family and career are only part of their work as an adult. They've all been trained that volunteerism is a lifelong commitment and they must remain engaged and active in an ever-changing world. And let's take a look. It says in the caption, Bill Cosby Center, let's see, here he is, right next to Mrs. Robinson, is a major contributor to the Jackie Robinson Foundation. Here he poses for a photo with foundation students and alumni. Looks like our author, perhaps. It might be right here. Let's turn the page. At the top of page 62. And so, the ranks of dedicated young leaders and followers committed to building a vibrant, productive, and richly diverse world are growing. The steps to forming such a society begins in childhood. It starts with making a promise to yourself, your family, and your community to be the best you can be so that when you're presented with the opportunity to lead, you'll be ready to assume your role. Many years have passed since my father died. I still miss him terribly, but have found ways to continue to celebrate his life. Dad kept his promise to America. Yet the struggle for equality continues. It is my hope that future generations will embrace the challenges of a global society and find creative ways to challenge systems that are unjust. Let's see what the pictures and captions tell us. At the top left-hand side of page 62, it says, my brother David lives most of the year in Tanzania, East Africa, but his coffee farming business brings him to New York several times a year. He is married and the father of 8, so we're blessed with a large contingent of Robinson children of varying ages, personalities, and offerings. And down here on the bottom of page 62 on the left, it says, Mom, David and I continue to pass on the lessons we've learned about life to all our children, those born into the family and those embraced by the family. Over time, we've seen this commitment bear fruit in many ways. And then we have this photograph right here, and it says, in 2001, Michael Jordan, here he is, received our Roby Humanitarian Award. And then over on the page 63, it says, through their words and actions, my parents taught me the importance of keeping promises. And in the photograph, here's Jackie and Rachel and our author, Sharon Robinson, in her younger days when her dad was still alive. This concludes Promises to Keep. Thank you for reading along. I hope that you've been inspired, as I have been, by learning about Jackie Robinson's life. Thank you for listening and reading along.